Right. Good evening. So, guys, let's wait another 2 to 3 minutes for everyone to join, and then we'll kick on. And let me share my plan, how we are working out our exams. Okay. So, we have to go around 4 sessions with me. So, let's see how we are going to work out it. So, let's bear some patience till others jump. Okay. Right, guys. Let's start. I hope others will join in the meantime. Right. So, guys, we are going to focus on the law paper in your ACCA. This would be of a skills paper. Right. So, you should know what we are trying to do in this session. Here, I'm not going to start from the scratch. So, when I say I'm not going to start from the scratch, so what I mean there is we are not going to do a summarized chapter wise decisions. Here, we are going to directly jump into the web. Okay, so we are going to dive into questions and see how we can manage these questions. So, what I would accept or expect from the revision session from students is that the first point, you should have minimum knowledge. So, when I say you should have minimum knowledge, so at least you should have gone through the syllabus. It is very important. So, to this paper, it is full of theories. It's 100% theory. You don't have calculations to do whatsoever. Very rarely. I mean, 1% there can be a small calculation, but even that it is not. Very available through the questions. But you should have the minimum knowledge on each and every things. So normally, if you have participated in the theory classes, you will, or I would have insisted you all to prepare a summary note from each chapters or a short note in other terms. Okay. So where you have to prepare for each and every chapter a summary note, because you now it's a headache for students. Now, for an instance, for me, I can't go back to my theories again and again because it's chunk of notes. It's going to make you sleepy, and it is not that flexible for you to go back and read enough more theories. Because if you take me myself, I'm just talking about myself, I would obviously feel sleepy. Okay, to go back to the notes. So what I normally do is I summarize each and every chapter. Now this summary is going to help me in future. So I just, while doing the lecturing, while studying theories in the theory class, every day, once a chapter is done, I'm going to work out my summarized notes. Now, when I say this summarized notes, whatever they are in the theory, you're not going to exactly copy them. You need to read it out. You need to point out and jot down the points, the important facts. Now, if there is a case, what is the knowledge of this case? What is the study of this case? You're not going to plot the entire case into your short note. Okay. So you have to make sure you are doing this. If you have not done this, start doing this from today. So make sure right after the session, you're going to work out your show. That's very important. Okay. I hope I'm clear to you all. So you can talk to me anytime. Okay. I always let my students to stop me and ask things from me, the suggestions and things like that. I would appreciate. And also, I would really love when you all ask questions, and please make things, interactive between us. Okay. Right. So I would accept a summary note. So when you have your summary note or short note with you, for an instance, now we will be doing the questions from elsewhere. It's not about chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, not even wrong. I'm directly going to give you the exam set of a mock paper here. So we are going to direct that mock questions. So this mock question will cover your 100% of your syllabus. Okay. So it doesn't mean that the same question is going to repeat at your exams, but this is how a structure would be. So what I would expect, or what I am focusing here, is to give you the knowledge about how you are going to tackle your exam, how you need to manage your timing. Okay, so in law paper, actually, you can manage your timing. Your timing is more than enough. But you have to know the syllabus in depth. That's very important, because otherwise the questions will push you into trouble. Okay, so if you know the concept, then it's easy for you to answer. Okay, so that's the reason why you should have, if they are now, according to ACCA's study hub contents, we have around 19 chapters. Okay, so you should have 19 short notes with you there. Okay, if you have used Kaplan, I think around 10 to 11, or I can't exactly remember the contents. So based on the contents, you should have the your supporting material. So it is very important. Okay, it's very crucial. So to have your summarized note, if you don't have, start preparing it. That's the advice I could give at the start. Then the next thing that you should have is critical thinking approach. So now there can be situations in law where you have to give your knowledge. Now there can be certain areas. Sometimes you might have forgotten the theory. It happens in exams, right? For an example, you can be confused of the situation. So what sort of cases that magistrate carries, or what sort of cases county courts carries, what sort of cases court of appeal carries, the Supreme Court carries. So sometimes you will be in a confused situation. So then you should develop a way that how you can remember things. So I advise students not to memorize, because when you memorize things, you will forget things over time. So it is always best to have a strategy, to have a smart work, how you are going to remember things. So that critical thinking approach should come from you, not from the lecturer. Because you are the one who is going to sit in your exam hall and to answer your paper. I will be not there, or anyone else is not going to support you. So this is a student-centric exam. ACCA is a 100% student-centric exam. So lecture, you might be thinking, then what's the role of the lecturers? Lecturers are there to just assist and have your torchlight on and show, hey, this is the path, this is where you have to go. So we are going to just light up. Okay, we are just going to bring the light. So you have to walk through the path. You have to cross through the path. It's all your decision. You have to see your hurdles. So that mindset needs to be there. So first you need to come out of all the worldly things that you can't prepare for this exam like any other exams. Okay. So ACCA is expecting certain amount of skills, knowledge, and expertise. More than that, how you are going to professionally act towards things. So whatever the cases, whatever the questions, or whatever the paper in ACCA, so they are going to test your knowledge. So in this level, they will test how you are going to manage things, right? So having this done, then the next thing is how we are going to do this session. That's what I'm going to explain to you. So I will be giving some test papers. Okay, so we will be discussing questions from that paper. So I have shared you in the group. So you will be having access to those groups, and then we will discuss this paper during our session. So when I say discussing this paper, I'm not going to directly give you the answer. I will give a small amount of time. For an instance, let's assume the first two questions. You have to try it on your own and have an answer ready. Then we are going to discuss that question. Likewise, we will be discussing the questions and completing this paper. That's how we are going to work it through. So that's the plan. And the next thing is, if you have any gray areas, so if you have any gray areas, drop a message. Okay. So drop a message to me. So then in the next session, we can discuss those questions. I'll bring out some questions or cases, and then we can discuss those questions from those areas in the next paper. So now it is going to be little customer approach. Okay. So when I say that customer approach thing, so it is now you might be not sound from the contract law. You might be not sound in the employment law. So we can bring some cases and discuss here. Apart from that, if you don't have any cases, whatever the paper that we are going to discuss is going to carry the entire syllabus. So we'll be touching base each and every part of the syllabus, right? The next important thing that we are going to drill down is now your exam paper is giving now your exam structure, I would say. It is going to be 2 hours paper. It's going to be a 2 hours on demand paper. So in the section A, you are going to get 45 MCQ questions, and section B, you are going to get 5 task questions. Okay, so altogether you are going to get 50 questions. Okay, so marks will be varied according to the questions. Now, first 45 mostly will carry the total marks of 70. So the next section B questions, each 6 marks. So around 30 marks in full. So that 70 marks and 30 marks is split according to the case and the amount of the weight of the question. They will give you the marks. Some marks questions will carry 1 mark. Some questions will carry 2 marks in your section A. So in your section B, most of them will carry 4, 2, 1. It depends on, but ultimately you get the 5 task questions. From those 5 task questions, each will score you around 6 marks. So it depends on the case and the task that they are going to give, right? So I hope you understood the story, what we are going to do and how we are going to work it through, right? Before we start, do you have any questions for me? Or do you have, sir? I have a suggestion like this. If you have anything like that, you can always point it out to me. Okay. So please be interactive so that it's easy for me to understand what we are doing. Okay. Right. So we didn't finish the syllabus yet in the class. Okay. No worries. Are you planning to sit the law paper in June exams? Actually, you can unmute and speak. It's okay. It's fine. But anyways, are you halfway through the syllabus or where are you at? Are you done with contract law? Are you done with employment law? Are you done with the chapter on the legal system? So now it's all up to you how many chapters that you have covered. Okay. So this TRG session is a revision session, which is basing our students who are going to sit for exams in June. So I will be focusing during my sessions the complete syllabus. But it would be a good startup for you to do some questions. So discuss some gray areas of your part. Okay, so if you have not done those areas, of course, you can wait for me to discuss and see, okay, how things are working here. So when you revise in the theory, it is going to give you a good link. Okay, I learned something like this. So those cases and things will be meaningful. Okay, right, good. So let's kick on with the questions. Anything else that you want to say? Okay. So I see many people in the group, only you have joined the live session at the moment, and we are not going to provide recordings on these sessions. That's the next thing. So I think students might be thinking these things will be recorded and it will be screened for them. No, we are not going to issue those recordings. It is a situational session. Okay. Right. All good. So what my plan is, let's you now it's your time. This is a revision session. Think that you are getting these questions in your exam paper. Okay. So first you try these three questions and then we discuss together and see whether you got the right answer. Or else let's see why we have not reached there. So can you try? I'll give you all roughly 4 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes you can take, or even before you can finish it. Maximum 4 to 5 minutes. Yes, you can like answer the first three and give me the send the answer. So then we can discuss. Right. Let's see. Now the first question, in which of the following courts do all criminal cases begin? So now they have given the three courts: county court, magistrate court, and crown court. So the answer here is magistrate court. So what you need to note from this point is all criminal cases begin begins at magistrate court. Got it? Yeah. So then, okay, fine. What sort of cases are dealt in the county court? what sort of cases you deal in the county court? In the county court, they deal with civil cases. You got it? So in a county court, you deal with what cases? Civil cases. What sort of case that you take to the crown court? So to the crown court, you move all the cases which comes to magistrate court. Okay. So if things are more serious to handle, then the serious cases, are handled here. Really. Because the magistrate court has a certain amount of limit to deal their cases. So if the case is more serious, all the serious cases are handled at the crown court. So in a summarized explanation, I would say all the criminal cases begin in a magistrate court. So then if you find any more serious cases, which will be moving to the crown court afterwards. Okay. And also in the county courts, you are dealing with a civil cases, mainly the tort laws, the contract laws, kind of things. You got it? You got the understanding what sort of things that we are dealing in these courts? Right. Next. What is the name given to such an allotment of shares? So this could be an easy question. Okay. John holds 100 shares in Box Limited. The directors of Box Limited have announced that she will be granted 1 share for every 5 shares. 1 share for every 5 shares that she holds. The shares will be issued and fully paid up. Okay. So, what is the announcement here? They are going to give 1 share, a type of share. Okay, that's the type of share that we need to find. 1 type of share for every 5 shares that you hold. Okay, so for instance, let's assume if you are having 20 shares in a company, so you will get 4 rights to get 1 share, or 4 kind of a share you will get it. So at this point, what is the type of share? The type of share is going to be, see, they are telling that this is issued and fully paid up. So if it is issued and fully paid up, it is your bonus issue. You are getting your shares freely because it is fully paid up for you, means you are going to get it freely. Okay. So, and they are telling the directors of the Box Limited have announced that she will be granted 1 share for every 5 shares that she holds, and these share will be issued and fully paid. So here they have not given any price for us, any issue price for us. If there is an issue price, then we need to think. They are selling these shares at the par value. So this is a bonus issue. This is a bonus issue. So a right issue is the share that you need to make payment. A bonus issue, it's given freely to the shareholders. So there is no any payment. That is this type of share is talking about. So it is going to be a bonus issue. So what do you mean by right issue of shares? A right issue is given to the existing shareholders at a discounted price. From your market price, they will give it at a discount. That is a right issue. Okay. So a capital issue, a special issue is not relevant at this stage. Okay. So your answer for the second one is going to be the bonus issue. Okay. Is that clear, Aisha? I hope you marked it as right issue there. I hope it is clear for you. Yeah, fine. Then the third one. In the context of sources of the context of sources. What is statutory instrument? What do you mean by a statutory instrument? A tool used by a parliament in the process of developing primary legislation, a form of delegated legislation that allows ministerial powers to be exercised, a right granted by UK's human rights legislation to strike out the secondary legislation. No. Now, a statutory instrument is a form of delegated legislation that allows ministerial powers to be exercised, which means your MPs are making decisions. You have to make some laws, to make some uh, policies and regulation. For an example, education minister. So education minister will implement, or he will have some authority to make some laws and traditions in relation to the educational process. Okay, so they will, he can insist all the private universities need to pay taxes. Okay, so that legislation, that power is given to the ministers. So it is from the parliament. Okay, the parliament is a supreme state of, now parliament, the decision there, what you're making there is the primary thing in a parliament. Through a statutory instrument means a statutory instrument is getting power from the parliament to make decisions. So at this point, a form of delegated legislation that allows ministerial powers to be exercised is to be known as statutory instrument. So in the case of statutory instrument, a statutory instrument is a delegated legislation where ministers get powers to exercise their, or to implement the rules and regulations according to their purview. Okay. So did you understand that? What is statutory instrument there? Okay, fine. Now let's try the next three. Fourth one, fifth one, and the sixth one. And then we'll discuss those three like we did just before. Okay, let's discuss which of the following is an indication that a person is self-employed rather than an employee. So they're asking us what answer or what sentence is supporting self-employed. So what you the definition of self-employed rather than an employee. So you need to look for a definition which supports what is self-employment means. Let's read out the things. The person has the ability to delegate to work to others. So if a person has the ability or the power to distribute, delegation means you're giving work. Giving work to others means, is it self-employment or employment? It looks like self-employed, isn't it? Let's see what are the other factors and how does this. The person is paid a salary. If a person is paid a salary, he is employed somewhere, isn't it? So when you are being an employee to an organization, you will get paid salary. The person is told how they should perform their job. If a person is told how to do the job, that is training. So where do you train things? As an employee. So once you are employed, you will get training. So that supports an employee here to be an employee. The person has the person has their work tools provided to them. So work tools provided to them means companies will provide you to work. So this statement also supports the employee. So the only point which supports to be a self-employed person is the person who has the ability to delegate work to others. It supports a self-employed person. So a self-employed person means the person who is doing their job alone. Okay, like their task alone, they are managing their client alone. So they have the ability to distribute work to others. Now, for an instance, most of the outsourcing services are like that. For an example, let's say you are running the business. Now you need an accountant. So rather than directly hiring an accountant as an employee, you can look for any freelancers. Okay, so that will be self-employed people who are with skills. So this for self-employed people, you don't want to train them. The training is not necessary. Okay, if you are an employee, then the training is necessary. The company has to provide them the training to work on it. But here it is self-employed. They will bring the in-house skills in order to get the work done. So that is self-employment, right? The fifth one. Which of the following is a condition that must be met in order for a principal to ratify the actions of an agent? A principal to ratify the actions of an agent, right? I mean, ratification must occur immediately after the contract is informed. Formed. Ratification must be agreed with the third party. The principle must have existed when the contract was formed. What should be the answer for that? Now, when it comes to ratify the contract, the principle must have existed. Okay, when it was formed, it is important. So the ratification must take place within a reasonable period of time. So the ratification needs to take place within a reasonable period of time, and also you should make sure that is communicated to the other party. Okay, so it's communicated to the other party means the third party, which I'm meaning to the third party. But the agreement to the ratification is not there. That recovered. So you don't want to have the agreement at this moment. So the condition that you need to meet in order to ratify the actions of an agent, principle must have existed when the contract was formed. Okay. So, and then you need to make sure it, when it was formed, it should take within a reasonable period of time. That's a one point that you need to take note. The second point you need to remember is the ratification must be communicated. Okay. To the third party. It is important. The ratification must be communicated to the third party, and the agreement to the ratification is not required. Okay. The next one. What is the minimum notice period that a person who has employed for 18 months is entitled to? So this is an easy one. It will be 1 week. So if a person employed between 1 month and 2 years, then they are entitled to give a notice period of a week. A week notice period. Right. Now try these two. Right. So in the event of unlimited liability partnership, the event of unlimited liability partnership being terminated, which of the following liabilities are repaid next once all the external debts have been settled? So once all the external debts have been settled, you need to make sure your partner's loans and advances are done. So then this is the first that you need to settle. So after all the external debts have been settled, you have to make sure the loan advances from the partners are repaid. Then it will be followed by the capital contribution. Then only you will, if anything is left over, you will share your profits. You got it? So the first thing that you need to look into partners loan advances, and then you move to the capital contributions, and then the share of profits. That's the order you will make your settlements. Right. Eighth one, a declaration of solvency. A declaration of solvency is required to commence which of the following? So declaration of solvency is required when there is a member's voluntary liquidation. So a declaration of solvency is required when a member's when a member's voluntary liquidation. It is not required in the other options. A declaration of solvency is not required in other three situations. In all these three situations, you don't want to have a declaration of solvency. So the point that you need to have a declaration of solvency is when a members voluntarily liquidate. I would like to answer the 9th and 10th, and then we'll move to a task question. Okay. So it will be good. So we discuss 10 multiple choice questions, and we go to a task question. Then we come back and discuss another 10 set, and we go back to another task question. So maximum questions possible we'll discuss in this day. Which of the following is a ground for disqualifying a director under model articles of association? So they are asking under model articles of association, what is the thing? So out of the options available here, breach of fiduciary duty, failure to meet a statutory duty, breaking the terms of service contract, and becoming bankrupt. So only becoming bankrupt is the ground for disqualifying a company director under model articles. So under model articles, the ground for disqualifying a director is when he is becoming bankrupt. So when you're becoming bankrupt, that is the ground reason for disqualifying a director under the model articles. So the next one is, which of the following companies qualify for exemption from audit? Public company with a turnover 1 million, the balance sheet total of 2 million? No. Public companies are not exempted. They should be audited. So they are not exempted. Public companies needs to be audited. Private company with the turnover of 11 million and the balance sheet total of 6 million? No. So when it comes to a private company, if the companies are having a turnover less than 2 point, okay. So if their turnover is less than 10.2 million, if their turnover is less than 10.2 million and their balance sheet total of 5.1 million. So when their balance sheet total is less than 5.1 million, these are lesser amounts. If it is less, then they are exempt. If it is more than 10.2, then they should be audited. If it is more than 5.1, then they should be audited. At this point, a private company with a turnover of 11 million and the balance sheet of 6 million needs to be audited. If they are less than 10.2 million in turnover and from balance sheet, if it is less than 5.1 million, then they are exempt for auditing. So in this case, a dormant company is fully exempt from audit. So dormant companies are exempted from audit. Okay. Now let's move to a task question and come back. So in the task question, they give case A and B. So what I'll do is I'll duplicate the tabs for you all. So you got the first question and the requirement here. And in this side, you got the requirement of B. So you get 6 marks here, two, so in total, 2 here, 4 here. Okay. So you need to read this scenario and answer this. What I'll give you is, I'll give you all 10 minutes to do this question, and then let's discuss. Okay. So we are going to discuss in 10 minutes. So think that you are getting this question in your exam. What would be your solutions for these questions? The first question you need to answer. Okay. So you got 10 minutes. Now it's 6:48. By 6:58, I will start discussing it. So I'll be discussing it 6:58. Start doing it, please. right? Let's discuss and let's go through this case. First, let's read the story or the case, what is happening, and make some understanding. So before that, let me check what examiner is asking from me. So it's easy to read the requirement first and understand what needs to be answered there. So examiner is asking, which of the following statements concerning Adam's agreement with Bob is correct? So there is an agreement between Adam and Bob. Okay, so they're asking what is the correct statement about it. So then they have given some answers. Let's read the answers once we are done with our exam, the scenario. Then they're asking in regards to Adam's agreement with Dawn. So there is another agreement from Adam with Dawn. Identify the following statements which are true or false. So they are giving some situations and we need to see whether these situations are true or false. Okay, they're asking the doctrine of promissory estoppel does not apply. Adam can recover the part payment if he did not accept it voluntarily. So we have to go through the situation now. Okay. So in this situation, see, Adam, who operates an accountancy practice, Adam is operating an accountancy practice, charges £1,000 per year producing business accounts for tax purposes. So they are providing accounting services and they are charging £1,000 per year. Unfortunately, he has had some difficulty in recovering fees. So he has some difficulty in recovering fees from two clients as follows. So the first client is Bob. Okay, so the first case is related to the Bob. So this is what we are looking for. So Bob is a car mechanic, told Adam that he could only raise a cash to pay half of his fees. He can pay only half of his fees, but that he would service Adam's car for the coming year. So now what he's trying to do, he's telling that he's not in the position to pay cash, which is £1,000 per year. So he will pay half of that, which means £500 per year. And also he's telling he would service the car, Adam's car, for the coming year. And Adam reluctantly agreed to this proposal. However, Adam is agreeing to this proposal. Okay. So the next statement is about Dawn. So before I read about Dawn, let me answer my first question. So now see, it's easy for me, right? I read first question is in relation to Bob. So I read the first sentence and I'm going to answer Bob. So it's easy without reading and getting too many informations confused to two different scenarios. Okay. So now they are telling that Adam can recover Bob to pay his full balance in value for the car servicing is less than the value of the accounting fees owed. So what they are trying to say, so now Bob is in a situation where he can't fully pay. So he is telling, I can't fully pay you, so I'll pay you $500 and balance for the next $500 I'll service your car. So when he's asking for servicing the car, now they are telling that the payment or the value for servicing the car is less than the accounting fees, which means less than £500. So now the situation is telling that you can recover. Now let's assume the service is costing you around £300. So the first requirement is telling that you can recover the £200 balance that you might from Bob. Is this statement is correct? Now you need to think something in your mind. What sort of things that you have learned under contract law and how you are going to apply those things here. Then the second thing is Adam can recover Bob to pay his balance in full because the payment is not a valid consideration. Is the payment is not a valid consideration here? to be a not valid consideration, it needs to be a past consideration, right? So it is not a past consideration. So let's see what else he's trying to do. Adam cannot require that Bob to pay his balance in full because the payment is in kind and is valid consideration. So this could be the answer as per the case, but let's see. Let's do more investigation. Adam cannot require Bob to pay his balance in full because he is prevented by the Unfair Contract Terms Act in 1977. No. So in this situation, now Adam agreed to accept Bob's to service the Bob's car. To service the Bob car. So Adam is agreeing to that proposal. So then that payment for the balance is valid. So this part is becoming valid. It's a valid consideration. It can't be an invalid consideration. So which means the option 2 is not something that I'm looking for as my answer. Okay. And then I'm telling another point to you. He may not recover any further sum from the job. So why am I saying that? Because he's already telling that. He's anticipating that he will not pay. So considerations needs to be sufficient, not adequate. Okay. So he may not recover any further sum from Bob. He can't expect because already he's selling that to the balance, I'll service your account. So when you say to the balance, you are going to service your account, which means it's for the balance amount. So you are not in a position to claim the balance from him again. Okay. Can you claim? No, you can't. Then that's what I told you. The consideration needs to be sufficient, not adequate. Okay. So, and the next point is the Unfair Contract Terms Act is not relevant to this case. This case, unfair relevance to act is talking about something else. Now see, when I took off those invalid points, the final answer that you need to mark here is Adam cannot require Bob to pay his balance in full because the payment in kind is valid consideration. So because now see, he is a car mechanic. He's telling Adam that he could only raise cash to pay half of his fees, but he would not, sorry, but that he would service the Adam's car for the coming year, and Adam is agreeing to this proposal. So at this point, it is a valid consideration. Okay, right. Now let's jump into the case of. Let's jump into the case of Don. Don is not a successful musician. He is not a successful musician. Also told Adam that she could only pay half of the money. No. Don is also telling that to Adam, he also can pay only half of the money. She owed him as she needed to use the other half to finance her new recording. No, she's telling that I can pay you half because she's in financial crisis. So she need to use the other half of the recording for her new recording. Okay. So once again, Adam agreed. So again, Adam is getting agreed to accept half of the payment. Dawn's recording subsequently became a major hit. So it's becoming a major hit. And she's making a profit of £1,000 from it. She's making a profit of £1,000 from it. Now, the question is, can Adam ask for the balance or not? You got it. Can Adam recover the balance of his accounting fees from Dawn or not? Is a contrary situation. Okay. So now let's see how we are going to deal this situation. Okay. So I would explain some points at this situation because Adam's agreement to accept the half of the debt appears to be unsupported by consideration. So Adam is in a point that he could still claim is in the remaining. Okay. Because of what? Don't may claim he cannot do so because of doctrine of promissory estoppel. So at this point, can you apply the doctrine of promissory estoppel? No, you can't. So doctrine of promissory estoppel does not apply in this situation since why? She has acted on the strength of his the waiving the situation by spending the remaining debt on her recording. So this waiver of the remaining amount she is investing in the recording. So this is not something which stops you to pay. Okay, so the doctrine of promissory estoppel does not apply into this situation. And also, if Adam can show that he did not accept the part payment, so they're talking about the part payment here, right? Voluntarily, or that the Don took an advantage of his financial difficulty, then he may be entitled to recover. He may be entitled to recover the thing. But in the other case, it also can be argued that the success of the Don's recording, her reliance on the uh, her reliance of her work can be waived off because it is not inequitable to allow to avoid her obligations. The circumstances are such she can or such it may be just to allow Adam to enforce his legal rights. Now, what I'm trying to say here is also now she's making her profits. The ultimate thing is she told that she's having financial difficulties. However, she had the money to pay, but she needs that balance or half of this, the accounting fees to for new recording. So when she's making good profit, then she needs Adam comes or Adam can claim for the payment. Otherwise, here you can't insert any common law into that or disturbed by the equity. So the next options are Adam can recover the part payment if he did not accept it voluntarily. Yes. So Adam can accept the part payment if he did not accept it voluntarily. And also Adam can recover the part payment if Don took advantage of him financially. So actually, if Don is taking an advantage of Adam financially, then this statement is valid. Don may be required to pay Adam in full because of her success of the recording. No, not because of the success of the recording he's playing. Is that the answer? Is it true or false? It also needs to be true. It's not false. Because the money that you took from Adams that you're supposed to pay, but initially, no, you can argue, right? You can argue Adam is agreeing to the contract. Okay, so Adam is agreeing to agreeing to Dawn because she was finding herself financially difficult. Now it is the time she is financially sound. So it doesn't mean that she can refuse to pay once she has money. You understood the situation? So that's why the doctrine of promissory estoppel does not apply in this situation. It does apply in this situation. It is not. It should be does apply in the situation. Then Adam can recover the part payment if he did not accept it voluntarily. He didn't accept it voluntarily. Okay, he was forced to accept it. Okay, so since the word not is here, it is true. Adam can recover the part payment if Don took an advantage of him financially. Yes. So if Don is taking an advantage over Adam financially, yes, that's true. Then Don may be required to pay Adam in full because of a success of a recording. Yes, since she's sound enough to pay Adam, after making the profit out of the music event, then she needs to pay it back. Okay, that's a task question, and how a task question which would come through an arrangement. So now let's jump into our MCQ areas, the next set of 10, and then we'll go to the other task question. Now it is your turn to complete 11, 12, and 13. So let's discuss how many days of holiday leave, including bank holidays, is an employee entitled to as a minimum. So a minimum is 28 days. Okay. So that's an easy question. Leah was recently dismissed from her employment when her employer found out she was pregnant. So if you are dismissing someone, if she is pregnant, it is unfair. It's an unfair dismissal. It's not constructive. Constructive means you are breaking the contract laws. I mean, the contractual laws, and it's not a wrongful dismissal. It's an unfair dismissal because you are getting pregnant. And can I put you out of the company? I can't put you out of the company. So it is unfair in this case. So next thing. In the context of contract law, what is the effect of the counter offer on the original offer? Acceptance. Is it an acceptance? No, it is not an acceptance. Counter offer is not an acceptance. it is a rejection on the original offer. Can it be no effect on the original offer? No, it is affecting the original offer. In this situation, counter offer means it's a rejection of the original offer. Good. Can you try the next three? 14, 15, and 16. Right. What is counter offer? So there is a question from Aisha. What is counter offer? Now, for an instance, let's say the original offer means now I'm going to sell you a laptop. I'm telling you the price of this laptop is 50,000. Okay. So that is the original offer that I'm giving it to you. Now you are telling no. If you are selling it for me for 45,000, then I'll buy it. So the offer that you are giving to me is a counter offer. My price is the original offer. Your price is the counter offer. So that is counter offer. Is that clear? Right. Let's discuss. Holding companies may give creditors of their subsidiary companies a letter of comfort regarding the ability of subsidiaries to pay its debts. So, what is the legal effect of letter of comfort? Now, the legal impact of a letter of comforts are not legally binding. Always remember. Now, what is a letter of comfort? Your parent company is giving a authentication or a word saying that, okay, this is our subsidiary. You can trade with them. They are good in conduct. Now, that justification or that authentication of letter is not a legally binding contract. So whatever the answer which says it's legally binding is not your answer. If I were the examiner, I would put another not case here. But in this case, it is not a legally binding on the holding company or subsidiary should be your answer. So a letter of comfort is not legally binding on the holding company or subsidiary. So it is a direct question from your theory. So if you have focused your theory, and if this would be in your summary note. So a letter of comfort is not a legally binding agreement or a contract. Okay, so it is not legally binding. Then, in relation to the tort of negligence, which of the following describe a standard care expected of individuals? So, what is the standard, a minimum requirement of care? What can be reasonably expected from them personally in circumstances? What a reasonable person would do in that circumstance? What the person is actually capable in that circumstances? What it is actually possible in that circumstances? So when it comes to the tort law, for the negligence and to negligence means what? Your carelessness. To your carelessness, the standard care that you expect, what a reasonable person would do in that particular situation. Got it? The standard of care is what a reasonable person would do in that particular situation, is what you expect. Okay. So it is nothing more that you expect. It is not something actually that you expect. So you are thinking what a reasonable person would do in that situation. For an example, a driver is compared to another driver. What a reasonable driver could avoid this situation. As a driver, you should have some protocols. You need to drive without drinking. Okay. So you need to follow the speed limits. You need to make sure you follow the instructions, the road signals. So the minimum expectation is that. But if you drove over someone, okay, and if you hit anyone by recklessly means it's your negligence. Carelessly, you hit over someone means this case is handled what a reasonable person would have done to take care of the situation. Because of your carelessness only, you are going into a negligence or you are committing a negligence. So then the estimation that we will take from a reasonable thing, how this case would have happened. So that is the standard of care that we are expecting from an individual, not beyond that. Okay. So in relation to the tort mechanism, which of the following describes standard of care? The standard of care we expect is what a reasonable person would do during that circumstance. That's our expectation. Then, what is the effect of voluntary non-fit injuria in the law of tort? So to know this, you should know the meaning of these terms. What is voluntary non-fit injuria? So voluntary non-fit injuria is a complete defense in an action in negligence. So voluntary non-fit injuria means it's the defense. It's a complete defense during any action in negligence. So that is voluntary non-fit injuria. So what it is trying to say is the defendant is not liable because the claimant would accept the risk of the injury or loss. For an example, let's assume you are walking in the road, not in the pavement. So I'm riding a bike. So unfortunately, my side mirror is hitting me. So now in this situation, you understand whose fault is. So now you are the claimant, I'm the defendant. Okay, so you are the injured party. So you are telling, okay, no worries, no worries. I'll take care of myself. Nothing went wrong. At this point, we call the situation as a voluntary non-fit injuria. Voluntarily, I'm defending the situation. So from the defendant's point of view, this action is completely defended. So voluntary non-fit injuria means it is a complete defense in a negligence. Okay, is that clear? Right. And also, I would like to say what is contributory negligence. So, contributory negligence means the amount of damages that defendant must pay is reduced. For an example, let's assume now I'm hitting you again. You are in the pavement, but you are in the edge of the pavement. So while I'm turning, unfortunately, a car is crossing. So in order to save my life, I'm turning to the pavement. So now I'm hitting you. So you are also getting injured. But you are also aware of this situation. You didn't purposely hit me. Since to save your life, you are hitting me. Okay. So at that point, now you might say, okay, say, let's assume your laptop fall and there's a small crack. You say to repair it, I might need 100,000. So then you say, it's okay. It's not your fault also. I also understand. But you bear 50% at least. Okay. So then we both are contributing to the negligence. You got it. That is contributory negligence. So if it reduces the amount of damages that the defendant is liable for, means it's contributory negligence. Okay. So both the parties are contributing. It reverses the burden of proof. So the defendant must prove that they are not negligent. So that is what we call it as res ipsa loquita. So res ipsa loquita means it reserves the burden of proofs. Now, sometimes in your exam I can ask, what is it? What it reserves the burden of proof. So the defendant must prove that they were not negligent. So res ipsa loquita means now defendants. I'm proving that I was not negligent to negotiate or defend my liability. So to defend my liability, I would say, no, I was going in the right track. This person only suddenly jumped into the road. So it's not my mistake, it's her fault. So do you have sufficient proof? So that is a situation where res ipsa loquita. I'm trying to defend the negligence. Okay, right. So I feel that if it would be better to have a break and come back, so you can do our prayers in between. So let's go for a small break and come. So it's 7:30. Be back by 7:15. Okay. right? I hope everyone is back. So let's start from question number 17 to 19. So it's your time now. Strike out answers for these and then let's discuss. Right. So now they are telling in the 17th question, bankruptcy cases are heard by which division of the High Court? So in the High Court, you have Queen's Bench divisions, Family Division, Chancery Division. So Queen's Bench division is mostly dealing with what cases? Right, mainly dealing with, I would say, civil cases, isn't it? Like civil cases mean the cases like contract law or the tort cases. But here they are asking about the bankruptcy cases. So bankruptcy would not fall under the civil case. It would fall under chancery division because the family division deals with the domestic cases, okay, or social and domestic cases only deal with the family divisions, mostly the family related matters. So that's an easy question. So the bankruptcy cases are handled by the chancery division. Right. The next one. In relation to the general rules of the statutory interpretation, what interpretation? Statutory interpretation. Which of the following is the rule that states express one thing is by implication to exclude anything else? So what they are trying to say, expressing one thing is by implication to exclude anything else. They are asking what is that, what is the definition applied for to which the situation is that espresso unius or nocita or impari materia. So in this situation, okay, espresso unius exclusia alters means to express one thing is by implication to exclude the other thing, anything else. So that is what expressio unius est exclusia means. Unfortunately, you should know the definition for these terms. Then what is meant by nocita assois means? That refers, it is, let's say, it is presumed that the words, it's presumed that the words draw meaning from those around them. So nocita assois means it is presumed that the words draw the meaning from those who are around them. Okay, so better to know these points because you don't want to learn it again and again. So these things better to know in this way. Okay. Sometimes your book might give you a different definition. So this is just some sort of a summarized definition. I'm just giving it to you for your understanding. Okay. So expressio unius exclusia alters means to express one thing by implication to exclude anything else. So nocita assois means it is presumed that the words draw the meaning around them. So in pari materia means, so now this is something, if the statute, okay, you know what's the statute, forms like part of a series, I would say, a part of a series that are on a similar subject. That are on a similar subject. So generally that the court may look into the interpretation of the previous statute and on the assumption of the parliament that is intended to do the same thing. So what there, it's like a common law, which is a precedent, a common law precedent, I would say. So in pari materia means if statute forms a part of series that are on the similar thing or a similar subject. So the, I would say, court. So it would be giving, may look to interpret of previous statutes. Okay. So this is what in pari materia means. I know that this would sound little Chinese, but unfortunately, guys, we have to know these terms and the meanings of those terms. Now, see, these are being these are being asked in the exams, right? So the 19th one, which of the following contracts will apply on Consumer Rights Act? So when it comes to Consumer Rights Act talks about the transaction between a business and a consumer. So you need to look for an answer where that act is or that situation is in between a consumer and a business. Supply commercial goods from one business to another. Is it between a business and a consumer? No, this is between two suppliers or business and the supplier. A contract made in relation to the family law? No, this is, I told you about a consumer and you need to look for an answer between a consumer and a trader. So this is family. A mobile phone contract telecommunication company to a private individual. Now, the private individual is a consumer and this is a contract between the telecommunications company. So this needs to be our answer if the other one is not. An employment contract, that is between an employee and the company. So consumer rights is ensuring the rights between a trader and an individual. So keep some tips like that to remember. So it's easy. So always remember, if consumer rights questions are given, means it is talking about or talking between a trader and a consumer. So see a contract between these two parties. If all the other answers would be talking about something else. Okay. Answer to the 20th one, and then we'll jump into a task question again. Okay. Once you're done with the 20th. Right. It's an easy one. In negligence, what is the limit of defendant's liability for damages? The limit of defendant's liability for damages is if they what they could reasonably foresee. They are not entitled for the full losses. They are not the amount of losses defendant can afford to pay. No, it is not what they can afford to pay. It is the defendant's liability is the losses that the defendant could reasonably foresee. That is the limit of the defendant's liability. So what the claimant is only liable for any losses that they could reasonably foresee. So it means that defendant does not receive damages in respect of all the losses that they are suffering. Okay. Right. So we have covered 20 questions from there, and we did one task question. Now we are going to spend our time to answer the second task question. So the second task question starts from here, and they are giving 3 questions. So as I did share my screen on both the sides. So these are the option B and C options. You need to give me the answer reading the scenario. So yet again, I'll give you a small time limit for you to answer. Think that you are getting this question in your exam. Okay, so now the time is 8:02. So I'll give time until 8:12. And then let's discuss this case. So let's start doing this. I given 10 minutes. So after 10 minutes, we are going to discuss this question. Start doing this question. Read the scenarios carefully and read the requirements carefully and plan your answer. I think this is a small case. You would have finished. But anyways, you have got 2 more minutes. But it's okay. Let's discuss with me. Now this is a partnership question. Let's see the case here. Which of the following partners are liable to repay the overdraft created by G, or let's call it as C? What did D have any authority to purchase the books? Let's see. Then, which of the following statements about F's liability for the partnership debt is correct? Okay, let's leave the situation and see what is happening. C, D, and F form an ordinary partnership. They're forming an ordinary partnership to run an art gallery. Each paid them. So everyone is contributing 100,000 pounds, which means 300,000 pounds in total. Each of them paid 100,000 pounds into the business as if had no prospect of raising any more money. It was agreed between them that a maximum liability to the partnership debts would be fixed at her original contribution of 100,000. So which means they are limiting. It's a limited member. The partnership agreements specifically restricted the scope of the partnership business. They're specifically restricting the scope of the partnership business to the sale of painting, sculptures, and other works of art. So this is their restriction, or this is what they are actually hoping into their agreement. So in January, C took 10,000 pounds from partnerships bank. So she's taking from the business money on its overdraft facility. So from business overdraft facility, she's taking 10,000 pounds. So she had took the bank, she had told the bank that the money was to finance a short-term partnership debt. But in fact, she has used money to pay for holiday. So she is lying there. She has told a lie saying that she's taking that short-term finance to pay a small debt, but actually she is paying for her holiday. So then in February, D entered into a contract. So D is entering into a contract for 25,000 pounds. The contract on behalf of the partnership to buy some books. So she hoped to sell in the gallery. Right. Now let's see. Which of the following partners are liable to repay the overdraft created by C? So who are liable? You understood the situation, okay? So C is taking a overdraft from business account, but she is using for her personal need. But she told that she's using for business, but actually she's using for personal need. So who is liable to repay the overdraft? Is it the business, or is it the three partners, or only C? Since he has taken, okay, the money from the business account to use for personal holiday, okay, so we can use business money, any partners can use the business money. In this situation, though she has paid up for her personal thing, all three partners are liable to overdraft because bank is going to ask from the partnership, not specifically the partner. Okay, so the action but to incur the debt to a third party that is owed by all three persons, because bank is the third party here. So your action of the partnership is falling a liability among all the partners. So all three should bear the burden. Okay, so that should be the option that you should choose. Did D have any authority to purchase books? Did D has any authority to purchase books? No, she is purchasing some books. Yes, she is having. So no, if you say no, it is not your answer. Of course, she is having. So now you need to say whether she is having the actual authority, an express authority, or apparent authority. What sort of an authority she is having? What do you say, guys? Now, actually, the partnership agreement is specifying that they could only sell paintings and sculptures and so on and so forth, right? So they actually, he is not having any actual or express authority to undertake the contract because there is no any express or actual authority that he will undertake on behalf. Because the next thing is she is having the apparent authority to undertake the contract on behalf of other partners because they have already agreed into contracts. Okay. Because the third party is not showing any interest to the partnership agreement. They will not show interest to the partnership agreement. So they are not aware about the contract of the partnership. So for a third party, they don't want to know what is your agreement, right? Your agreement is between the partners. So when you are bringing down, see, if in February we entered into 25,000 worth of contract on behalf of the partnership to buy some books. Okay, so she hoped to sell in the gallery. So you are doing for the betterment of the organization. So you are having some apparent authority to do it. So that is the authority that you have to purchase in this situation. Then, which of the following statement about F's liability to the partnership debts is correct? So F is jointly liable for all the partnership debts. Okay, but he may claim any amount she is liable over $100,000 from C and D. So that should be the answer that you should have. Because F is jointly liable for all partnership debts, but he may claim back any amount she is liable over 100,000 from C and D. Why he can claim back? Because that is the contract, right? Because F had no prospect in raising any more money. It was agreed between them. Her maximum liability for any partnership would be fixed at her original contribution. So that is the agreement that she has brought into the partnership initially. So if partnership is bearing any liabilities, she is jointly liable. So you can't say F has no liability in the partnership debts. No, they are liable. F is liable. So this is not an option that you can choose. F is only liable to third parties up to 100,000. Yes, F is the word only is a wrong thing because only F is liable for 100,000 is wrong because you're doing a partnership business here. So when it comes to from business perspective, you need to share, you need to jointly own. That's a benefit of doing partnership, right? If you get profits, you share. If you get losses, you share. So you are not doing or bearing things alone. So that can't be your answer. F is jointly liable to all partnership debts but cannot claim back any amount from C and D, it's wrong because he's already agreed my liability is only up to 100,000. But anything more or over that you are going to bear means that you have to reclaim it from C and D. So C and D is liable to F at this situation. I hope you understood what we are trying to do. So if you have studied partnership laws, the laws on the partnership will obviously make more sense. But anyways, from a common sense point of view, also you can answer these questions if you really know the definitions of each of these terms. Right, good. So we answered two task questions now. So yet again, we are going to move back to answer from question number 21. So it is your time to answer now. Question number 21 and 22 and 23. So let's, or you can try even 24. Is it possible? No. Try 21, 22, and 23. Discuss three at a time. Discuss, answer these questions, and then let's discuss. Right, let's discuss. Which of the following parties does a company auditor owe their duty of care in respect of their audit report? An auditor needs to show their duty of care, the company as a whole, not to any members, not to directors, not to creditors. Then you are favoring someone, you are being biased. You have to think from the company's point of view, not from the members. You're not serving to the members, you are not serving to the directors, you are not serving to the creditors, you are serving to the entire company. So auditors only owe a duty of care to the company as a whole, not to anyone else, not to directors. So if you are favoring the director, then director would say, Okay. So it's like you are favoring the directors. For an example, let's assume directors might say, okay, I have increased my remuneration, not showing the audit report. If membership would be an issue. You got it? So they will put it as other expenses and close it off. Now see, you're cleaning up your accounts. So you have auditors. Auditors are independent authority. They are the third parties. So you appoint auditors. Why shareholders or the members appoint auditors? To give the true and fair picture of the entire company, what is actually happening. So you are not reporting to, or you're not showing the duty of care to the members personally. You're not showing to any members personally or to the directors or creditors. Okay, you are reporting to a company. So you're auditing a company's report. So then you need to talk about the company, not to the directors. Is that clear? Right. The terms may be implied into a contract of employment if they have certain characteristics. So to imply your terms into a contract, what are the characteristics you should have? So which of the following characteristic is of a term may be implied into a employment contract? So if you want to imply terms into a contract, the custom practice, it should be reasonable. One thing is you should have, it should be reasonable, okay, and certain and notorious. So if you want to imply a term, if you want to imply a term, it needs to be reasonable, okay? It needs to be certain and it needs to be notorious. So which of the following, the term must be acceptable? No. The term must be proportionate? No. The term must be practical? No. The term must be notorious. So the terms implied into a contract of employment, a contract of employment, if they have certain characteristics, then it should be a reasonable one, certain one, and a notorious. These are the three factors to include a term into an implied employment contract. So note this point to be useful for you. Okay, the 23rd one. So here they are asking, which of the following is a lawful excuse for not performing a contractual obligation? So not performing an obligation, what is a legal excuse or a valid excuse? The cost of performance has increased when the contract was performed. Is it a legal excuse? Your cost is increasing, so the cost of performance has increased when the contract was formed? No. Is it a legal excuse? No, that is not a legal excuse. It is not a legal excuse. Performance is made more difficult due to unforeseen circumstances. So that is not a legal situation. If you see any unforeseen situation, then you need to have plan B, plan C, because you should be aware about your risk management. You need to manage your risks. The other party has made the performance impossible. Could be a lawful thing. Now, for an example, government is telling you are not going to work for next 5 months in this company. Okay, so there could be some other law cases. So now let's assume you are starting the contract in the January and you are supposed to finish in June, a 6 months contract. So during February, government implies the rule for next 5 months you can't conduct any work-related matters in this site because we are going to train the armed forces next, closer to your building grounds. So they might be using that grounds to have their events. So they can have any flights of their Airbuses or helipads or helicopters, I would say. So then they could now see who is stopping this. Government is stopping it. So it is not under your control. So now, if the owner is suing you, let's assume the activity is happening up until May. Now, after May only, you will start continuing work again. So then, obviously, a 6 month contract can't be finished by working out 2 months. So you got another 4 months left. So you have contracted for 6 months. Now from May, you'll take June, July, August, and September only you'll try to complete the job. So if the contracted party, if the claimant is suing you, you have a lawful excuse here. Well, you can say because during this period I could not work. So how can I perform the job? Okay. So that is a lawful excuse that you can give if you didn't complete a contract. Other two are unlawful. The cost is increasing, the performance is made more difficult. So those are your weaknesses that you need to address it. Okay. So the option here it should be the third, the other party has made the performance impossible. So that's the reason why that is being a lawful excuse for not performing the contract obligations. Okay. So now, yeah, try 24. Right. Which of the follow, sorry, certain contracts may be made orally but are not enforceable unless they are evidence in writing. Which of the following contract must be evidence in writing? The contract that must be evidence in writing is a contract of guarantee. Should be evidence in writing. So then the other options, whatever the options that they have given, a lease for more than 3 years needs to be supported by a deed. A conveyance is also needs a deed. A promise not supported by consideration means it is also a contract that must be made through a deed. So a contract of guarantee must be evidence in writing, right? Those are some straightforward questions. Try these three. Right, let's discuss. In a company with more than one member, in a company with more than one member, what is the quorum for a class meeting? Two-person who hold at least a third of the nominal value of the shares in the class. Three persons who hold at least half of the nominal value of the shares in the class. Five persons who hold at least three quarters of the nominal value of the shares in the class. Now, two persons hold at least the third of the nominal value of the shares in the class should be your option, because the quorum for a class meeting is two members. Okay, so that is something direct which has you can get it from your theory. Two persons who hold at least a third of the nominal value of the share in the class is the quorum for a class meeting. Okay. So where a compulsory liquidation order has been granted, which of the following is true? When a compulsory liquidation is transferred, so once a liquidation order has been granted, all the employees are automatically dismissed. When it's a compulsory liquidation order is transferred, all the employees are automatically dismissed. So the official receiver is appointed as a liquidator and runs the company during the liquidation process. So the legal proceedings are halted and new proceedings may not commence. And existing work is halted and the new work also can't be begun. So let me repeat it once for you. So once a liquidation has been granted, okay, what liquidation? The compulsory liquidation has been granted. All the employees are automatically getting dismissed. Okay. So the official receiver is appointed as a liquidator. The official receiver is appointed as a liquidator, and the company during the liquidation process. So, the official liquidator is appointed, the receiver as the liquidator, and he should run the company during this process. That's the understanding you should have. And also, any existing legal proceedings needs to be halted and new proceedings may not commence. It's a point you can note it out for you. Then they're asking what is the which of the following is a rule for a valid consideration. So to be a valid consideration must pass from the promisor. Consideration must be adequate, not necessarily sufficient. No, consideration needs to be sufficient, not adequate. So ideally, 2 is not your answer. So 2 can't be your answer. Performance of the promise must be possible could be the answer. Let's see. The promise must be given in writing. The promise shouldn't be given in writing. Does the consideration must be passed from a promisor? No. The consideration, to be a valid consideration, the performance of the promise must be a possible one, which means a sufficient one, not an adequate one. So to be a valid consideration, the promised must be possible. So the learning there is what? To be a valid consideration, promise must be possible. So it must pass from the promise. And then I will also say consideration must be sufficient, not adequate. That should be a correct way of thinking. Consideration must be sufficient, but not necessarily adequate. But here they are saying a consideration must be adequate. So that is wrong. It should be the other way around. So it does not have to be given in writing. It never needs to be given in a written form. Okay. So try these three and then we jump into a question. The third question. Which of the following is the final court of appeal for a number of Commonwealth countries? So, number of Commonwealth countries, the final court of appeal is the Privy Council. If you don't know, don't know. Because the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council is the final court. Okay. The final court of appeal for number of Commonwealth countries. So its decisions have a persuasive influence over points of the English law system. So they have some persuasive influence over the points of English law system. So for the Commonwealth countries, the final court of appeal is the Privy Council. Right? Which of the following is a right of a holder of a debenture secured by a fixed charge? Okay. So it is secured by a fixed charge. Debenture payment of a company dividend. Are you getting dividend paid? It's a debenture. It's not be the answer. To vote at the company's general meeting, you are having a debenture. Can you vote at the meeting? You should have ordinary shares. To vote on company resolutions that affect them as a debenture holders. No, they can't vote on company resolutions to prevent the company from selling an asset secured by the charge. Yes, they have the right as an holder to prevent what was secured as a charge. Because if they can't sell, they have the right to say this has been secured. For an example, I'm giving my deed, I'm taking a loan. So now can I sell my house? Will you allow me to sell? It is your right to say you will have your right. No, you can't sell your house unless you settle the dues. Okay. So the debenture holders do not have the right to dividends, to attend company meetings, or to vote company resolutions. You got it? So debenture holders do not have rights to what? For dividends, attend company meetings, or to vote in company resolutions. However, they have the right to secure, or they can prevent the company from selling an asset which are charged as a security. Okay, so they have that right. 30th, which of the following statement concerning the Consumer Rights Act is not correct? They are asking which is the false one. A term that restricts consumers' legal right is void. Is that correct? Yes, that is correct. If your right is getting voided means, so it is getting void. It is not relevant enough. So that term restricts consumers' legal right is void is correct. It's not an incorrect answer. The term allows business to unilaterally alter the terms of the contract is void. Yes. So can business alone make decisions? Can they unilaterally put some terms in the contract? That is also void. That is also a correct statement. A term that deemed unfair cannot be enforced by the consumer. Of course, yes, that is incorrect. They can enforce. Because if you see any terms that is unfair, you can enforce it. Now here they are saying it cannot enforce. Cannot enforce is wrong. It is not correct. A term that is deemed unfair can be enforced by the consumer. So you can enforce to change it. Okay. So under the act, the terms which are void, include those which restricts your consumer legal rights and allow the business unilaterally to change their terms in a contract. So those are correct statements. A consumer may enforce a term which deemed unfair. So they can enforce anything which seems unfair. Okay, all good with 30 questions there. So let's jump into a case and we'll meet tomorrow. Not tomorrow, actually, in the next meeting. So guys, our next class will be falling on a Sunday again, next Sunday. So what I wanted to discuss is sometimes I might be traveling. Okay, so I might flying back to Sri Lanka. So I'm not little sure about my flight ticket. Yet I didn't book it. So sometimes if I'm traveling, I would not have the session. Let's have an alternative date. I will drop a message in the group to suggest some alternative dates so that we can have a session. Okay. So anyway, it's an online session. So let's have a alternative date. So I hope I don't have your contact. Zayda, you participated with me before. Both of you just drop me a chat. Okay, so anyways, I'll drop a chat in the group as well. But anyways, you guys also personally drop me a chat because I don't know whether others will join or not. So if you guys, let's see, are you all working? Are you both are working? Aisha is not working. Okay. Where are you working? Then cool. So what I would do is mostly I will be free after 9:30 a.m. Sorry, not 9:30 a.m. 9:30 p.m. the late night. So we can have a break session like mm, 1.5 an hours a day. So from around 10 to 11:30 kind of session. If it's comfortable with you all, we can have it. If not, I'll try to fix it on a week, a 3 hour session. Okay. So I'll just drop you some messages. Okay, cool. Uh, Drop me a message in person. So let's decide the session timing. And if you have gray areas in the law, like as I told you when I started the session, I told you if you have any gray areas. So shall we just do some questions on this part, or this part? Just drop me a chat so that I can bring some relevant questions to those areas in the next session so that we can practice more of those questions there. And if not, my plan is giving you some mock papers and we are striking through those. So it's kind of an exam related questions that you see here. Okay. So you get a grip of thinking how things are going. So for F4 guys, time management is not a big challenge. You can obviously finish as quick as possible. But the thing is, you need to understand the concept and make the right decisions. So for that, you should have the knowledge. That's very important. Okay. I think the time is almost up. So let's continue this paper in the next session and start it from here, from the question three, the task question. And let's finish it off the rest of the 15 questions. We are left with 15 more, right? 15 more in the choice questions and three more in the task questions so that we can finish in the first half of the next session. Okay. So that's it from me for the day. Thanks for your participation and thanks for your patience and thanks for your responses so that we can conclude our session for the day. And if you have anything, you can drop me a chat. How do you all feel like going this way of practicing is okay? Or should bring questions from chapter, I mean, area wise? Each area wise is good. What I feel is normally I do revision sessions. When I come to revision session, I expect students to make their short notes and know the knowledge of the theoretical aspect and apply those theories here because law you need to refresh your theory by doing more and more questions so then you understand the concept how to apply your theory in this situation. Okay, okay guys, then good night. If you don't have anything to say, we can sum up. Okay, bye then. Good night.